Hello everybody, Manager Loy back again with a video today on how the network here works. So this one's a little tricky because it's really hard to demonstrate, so I'm going to kind of walk you through it a bit. First and foremost, in order to access the iDrive, you have to have an Ethernet connection. And now it's like, well, Loy, how do I have an Ethernet connection? Well, two things. You have to have the physical Ethernet cable, aka Cat5, plugged into the orange port and then into the back of your computer. Now the second way you know that you have it is down here in the bottom right hand corner. You'll see this little tiny icon down here. I'm going to try not to hover over it too much, but this one right here, you'll see it kind of looks like a computer, and then it's got a little jack. Oh, it just went away. Oh, hey, this is an authentication video. Perfect. So on that, that's how you find out that you're authenticated to the network. For Wi-Fi, which it conveniently popped up for me, you've got this little like bars thing. Everybody knows the Wi-Fi signal. So now that we've talked about how to get onto the network in that sense, let's talk about why. To get onto the network is whitelisted. So, and the question, why is it whitelisted? It's so that people don't just plug in random things into it. So your MAC address is a unique identifier based off of your computer's motherboard, and that is sent to OIT, and OIT approves that device based on its MAC address. And for Ethernet computers, the only way to get a hardwire connection is to be whitelisted and MAC approved. For Wi-Fi, I'm sure as many of you have already experienced, you simply need to log in with your ABC123, and that allows your device to get onto the network. So let's take a look here down in the bottom right-hand corner now at this. So if you click here once, it says that we're an unidentified network without any internet. So we're going to go ahead and click that. We're going to try and find out why. So you click this here. You see, you can see your physical address. So this is our MAC address, which should allow us to connect to the network. And as you can see here, it gives us some other random information. It's not really necessary. IPv6 connection, you don't need to worry about. We'll go back. Let's see. Can we change our adapter options? Ethernet authentication failed. All right. So how do we fix this? So the first thing we can do is we can try and diagnose the problem. So Windows will attempt to look for the problem and will reset the Ethernet adapter. So what this does is it basically clears the cache connection and then attempts to re-authenticate to the network. Now, how do I authenticate to the network? So two ways. One, we've already talked about. You have to be MAC address approved. Two, you have to log in with a UTSA ABC123 and passphrase that connects to the Active Directory. We'll talk more about that later, but for right now, right here we've got a Ethernet doesn't have valid IP configuration. So what does that mean? So we're going to close the troubleshooter. Let's see if we can actually look at the properties here. And so properties, Ethernet properties allows you to look at the IPv, or what this is called Internet Protocol version 4 IP address. So it's supposed to be obtaining one automatically. So what's happening here is you're not getting a connection, which is generally when you'll get that limited insignia that pops up down in the bottom. We saw it for a brief second earlier. Doesn't look like it wants to pop up at the moment. Your device will attempt to re-authenticate about every minute to 5 minutes, depending on the connection. It's really unfortunate that this has happened because we're what's called logged into a local account. So your student guest account and your event staff account are actually not approved Ethernet accounts because they are logged in locally to the machine, which is what we're doing here. They wouldn't let me install the recording software otherwise. That being said, the reason we we are not able to authenticate is because of that. We are not logged in using an ABC123 or passphrase. We are logged in using a ./ account, which is not an approved NAC account, or in this case, a whitelisted account for the Active Directory. When it does pop up, though, and I'm hoping that it will, let me see if I can run a new diagnose on it and see if it'll reset. Because sometimes you get lucky and it just decides that it wants to work. Other times, you're SOL. So, are we going to get it? No? Not going to get it? Sad. Well, anyways, so the UTSA.RR, the point that I want to make here and we'll go ahead and we'll check out these properties. Is it a UTSA RR? So it's invalid IP config. It won't show here. We'll have a 10.10, so we can look at that in the command prompt here. IP config. So if you don't have internet for our Ethernet adapter here, right? It'll be a 169.254. Whatever, whatever, whatever. Anything that's 165, 168, 169, or 192 are auto-configured IP addresses for Windows computers that are just made up. In other words, they're connecting to themselves and they're not actually broadcasting out. So now down here you see for our wireless adapter, which we currently have internet to, which is our Wi-Fi, we're connected to the UTSA-RR.net, which means we've logged in, we've used an ABC123 and passphrase, and we've been given a 172, or sometimes it's a 10.10. So either of those addresses are valid addresses, and they're known addresses for the UTSA network. So if you cannot connect via Ethernet, the easiest thing to do is to just go over here and click the Wi-Fi option. Select the Wi-Fi that is relevant to the user. So if it's an out of university guest, let's say they're from a company or something, you'd use the air rowdy guest. If they're a student, obviously you'd have them log in on student. If it's a faculty or staff member, you would have them log in on that Wi-Fi. So if you cannot authenticate to the Ethernet adapter or the Ethernet NAC controller, the easiest thing to do is to go to Wi-Fi and then record the room that you are having issues with Ethernet. Now, this generally occurs for Macintosh computers more than Windows, because our Macs here do not like to talk to each other. But it's important to note down which room, and if you have tried to log in using your ABC123 and passphrase, and if another person has tried. Because what we can do is we can get Doug, who works in IT here, or OIT, to actually check it out and see if it's a problem with either our computer or their network connection. We've had computers before get knocked off of the whitelist, which is a reason to record that room. So just record it down under your maintenance or repairs option in your shift report, and try and get them onto Wi-Fi. Now there also are instances where the Wi-Fi goes down, and when the Wi-Fi goes down and the Ethernet goes down, you are really you're really just you're SOL. That's it. So you'll have to log in with the student guest account and then get their PowerPoint up. If they have to do YouTube, you're just gonna have to apologize because you can't get to YouTube without internet. So that covers a bit about how our network works. You know, kind of some of the steps of ways of getting around and navigating it. It's definitely confusing the first few times. You might want to watch it again, this video again, once or twice to kind of get a feel for how this is supposed to work. Honestly, though, you shouldn't have to worry about this too much. If it doesn't work, if they don't log in the first time, just go to the student user and the SU guest account. You don't have time to waste with a client in order to get them in and try and get them logged in, unless they really, really, really need to log in under their account. You can try restarting the computer. That generally works. You saw me come down here and right click and do the troubleshoot problems. Those are the two easiest solutions besides typing in an IP address, which we don't need to get into for that. So I hope this video has been slightly helpful for y'all. That's pretty much it. So I think we'll end it here.